think that's a perfect ending and fits very well with the Made in Britain, Loved by the World theme of this conference. So thank you for the questions. Thank you very much to Joe. Thanks to all of our speakers today as well. I think you'll agree we've certainly covered lots, and lots of the similar themes coming up about collaboration, about skills, what we do to tackle that. Concerns about productivity, but not focusing too much on that because it's about being competitive, and that's the main game. And I think, we've heard from lots of different types of businesses in the industry as well. I know Terry's going to sum up what we've heard, but let me just thank everyone, first of all, for questions and for taking part in Twitter, and for those of you who've been tweeting photos and the like and why you love UK manufacturing. That competition will be drawn a little bit later on in the post-conference reception, which is going to be held in the Whittle and Britton lounges. That will be 4:15. That's going to be announced. Also, thank you very much to our headline sponsor Lombard again, and to the conference partners British Gas, HVM Catapult, Info, KPMG, NatWest and the manufacturer, and the exhibitors for their support. So can you put your hands together for all of those people? Couple of reminders from me. Please can you hand your badges in at reception when you go, and also don't take the bloody things with you. Those button things, leave them on the chairs, otherwise Kathy, who's wonderfully organised this event, will kill me. And they cost 60 quid each, so you'll be getting the bill. And so please do leave them, and if you could fill in the evaluation forms, that's always really helpful, so that the team here who've put this together can make sure that next year has any improvements you want it to have, and just to make sure they're getting everything right in terms of what you want. And finally, on the Lombard stand, the winners of the competition for the 4 pairs of tickets for the NatWest T20 will be drawn at 4:30. So thank you very much for having me as well. As always, I tend to learn more whenever I come to this about what's going on. It certainly helps inform me when I'm doing my broadcasts. But for now, let me welcome back to the stage Chief Executive of the EEF, Terry Scuoler.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. What a positive note to finish on. An absolutely inspirational talk from Jo Malone. In her own words, from council estate to global entrepreneur, from cottage industry to global brand. And I don't think she would mind if I said that with a bit of help and inspiration, and clearly some talent, and she's got masses of it, then many others can do the same. And what an absolutely positive note, and I'm very, very grateful for that tremendous speech. Let me try and just pull some 6 hours of debate and added value and analysis together literally in a couple of minutes. It has been a fascinating day, and let me of course add my thanks to that of Steph and our sponsors and panellists and speakers today. Also a very warm thank you to Steph herself for leading us in such a professional manner. My own team of Kathy Riley, Caroline O'Neill, Natasha Boyle, Stuart Biddle and Soraya Silvello. They have put an enormous amount of effort into this conference today, as I hope is obvious to one and all. It is also a pleasure just to welcome Dick Elsey once again and his team at the High Value Manufacturing Catapult. The work they do, we value. We are on record so doing, and they and we very much look forward to working further together as they continue to generate innovation on behalf of our country. A couple of comments, if I may, just on some of the things that were said today. I remember talking to John McDonnell earlier in the week when I was meeting with them, and it was quite a courageous visit today from John McDonnell. It was not necessarily a friendly. It could have been a hostile audience that faced him today in terms of this 800 plus people in the room. So I'm grateful to him. And let us also please not forget some of the comments that he made, that if we cannot translate our wealth, our manufacturing growth, our productivity and everything that wealth generates into some form of community spirit and shared value and shared wealth, then we will face not just polarisation, but perhaps further polarisation in our great country. It gives me no pleasure to state that in a recent trip to my own hometown in Glasgow, travelling to see an elderly aunt, I lost my way, one of the main drags. I've been away for a long time. I ended up in an estate in Glasgow. It was not, ladies and gentlemen, a pretty sight. So let us reflect on John's comments, and where they are appropriate, of course, take them to heart. The Business Secretary, Greg Clark, let me pay a compliment. He talked about engagement, and no doubt EEF's engagement and other business organisations' engagement. I have rarely known such engagement and such positive engagement in my 7 years as CEO at EEF since Greg Clark took over. And just the access to documents, be they draft, be they on their way to number 10, be they on their way back from number 10. And I look forward to working with him further in the development and, of course, critically, the implementation of the industrial strategy, which is due to come out, I hope, later in the spring. It is our industrial strategy, as one of our industrialists said, not governments, but clearly we must work with them. We heard from our economists, renowned economists. Let me challenge them, if I may. And I think, are we suffering from a surfeit of statistics? Are we suffering from a surfeit of analysis? And I think that the enormous respect I have for key renowned economists, yes, let us do the analysis, let us understand the statistics, but let's just go on with doing the job. And I think also something that may not have come up this morning, and my organisation supported the Remain campaign strongly, but exiting the EU will not be an existential issue for our great country. We will work our way through this. Sometimes, however, I think, us leaving the EU and what is happening around the EU and the Eurozone may well be an existential issue for them. It must not be for us, and therefore we will drive ahead. We heard from our industrialists, and I had a chuckle with Jürgen Meyer in the green room, where he said delightfully that the top plant in the world for Siemens is a plant here in the UK. That is welcome news. Ladies and gentlemen, it is also the one he used to run. So, and I couldn't help but tease him on that issue. Equally heard from Nissan in terms of 50 global plants. That plant at Nissan is in the top 3, 4, or 5 in terms of the global productivity amongst those 50. And once again, that demonstrates it can be done, and we will do it. 12 months ago, I stood here and I said that our priorities were the need to invest, increase productivity, drive competitiveness, and exploit new markets. Standing here 12 months later, those aims surely are very, very valid and pretty much the same. That said, of course, the ever-quickening pace of digitization, technology in general, and, of course, exiting the EU probably makes them even more compelling and important. Investment carries risk. For smaller companies, that risk is measurably greater. It can, in the short term, impact on cash flow. It can damage the balance sheet in the short term. I know personally from significant experience in just that journey. But equally, I have never been disappointed in the medium to long term in making those investments and growing a business. And I urge us all to reflect on that and move forward. To be well invested, to be productive, have satisfied customers, and a happy and motivated workforce will, I have absolutely no doubt, lead to sustained growth and productivity. And the men and women, the entrepreneurs behind that activity, deserve to be rewarded appropriately and must be so. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make no mistake. The global race for industrial success will see winners and losers. In that respect, it must be by definition a zero-sum game. So let us please focus on those drivers. In closing, I would just say that we're having our annual dinner tonight. I know that many of you will be joining us. I look forward to joining you this evening. And last of all, thank you very much for your support for manufacturing and for joining us here today. Thank you very much.